How's it going, guys? Matt Lighty here. We're going to be discussing my baby, my precious, my self-cast Scolds Discharge. I've been working on this build for weeks to months. I shit you not. There have been some versions of this build that do exist. They are not this. This is mine. I'm taking full credit without even checking if it exists in the world. No, it's a very, very personal build to me. I've been working on it for a very long time. I finished the build guide finally, pretty much. Most everything is perfectly done now. I got my Scolds to 97% after a bunch of divining. A bit upsetting, couldn't get 100%, but what are you going to do? This build is a self-casting discharge thing. So, what does Discharge do? Discharge expels your charges, makes a giant explosion of those elements. So, power charges to lightning, endurance to fire, frenzy to cold, big AoE explosion. That's what it does. This build is not a cast-on crit discharge. It's not Mjolnir discharge. It's not any of the discharge builds where you see a bunch of explosions happening. This is one big fucking explosion that one-shots the screen. So, what do we have linked to Discharge? Well, you can run, I have a 4 link to show this, you can run this build off of a 4 link with no problem. Increased crit damage, conk effect, that is all the damage you need. Aside from that, life leech is required, and Discharge. If you'd like to add a 4th or 5th or 6th link, increase AoE, I would suggest next. After that, Lightning Pen. If you don't need the additional AoE, you feel like you don't want it, increase critical strikes, even for a higher chance to discharge. Although you're already going to be close to 95% in general for crit chance. This is a crit build. This is a build that is blood magic. I have no mana, I'm casting with life. Why does that matter? Well, because I'm casting with life, and I'm dealing damage myself with Skull's Bridle. Cast when damage taken can trigger. Well, what does cast when damage taken do? It triggers skills supported by it for free, essentially, when you take a certain number of damage. That threshold is 440 at level 1. So we have level 1 cast when damage taken, Warlord's Mark, or any curse of your choosing. If you so choose, Conductivity and Elemental Weakness also work very fine. We have Glacial Cascade and Ice Nova. Why? Because we want these things to crit. They're level 1. You say, oh, they do no damage. We don't care if they do damage. We want them to crit things because we have Vol's Protector, which does what? Power charge when you hit an enemy with a crit. That doesn't mean that if there's a pack and you crit everything, you get full power charges, pretty much. So, what does Vol's Protector do aside from that? Reduced mana. Reduced mana does nothing to us. We have no mana, so there's no drawback. What do we do with the power charges? We discharge. Okay, what else we have hooked up to these so-called cast when damage taken? GMP, Ice Spear, Ball Lightning. If you'd like, you can replace Ball Lightning with Fireball or with Arctic Breath. Anything that works with GMP. Freezing Pulse. They're all fine. All they do is they want to get more power charges, crit things, because you'd like to get more power charges, you can discharge more. What happens when we discharge? Well, our power charges go away, and they come back as endurance charges because of Vol's devotion. Where else do we get endurance charges? Well, Warlord's Mark also gives us endurance charges, which we use to discharge. It also grants us life leech. Life leech here, life leech there. Why does that matter? Let's look at the passive tree. We have Valpack. We are a build that uses Valpack because our damage is through the fucking roof. We need to leech back as fast as possible. What is faster than instantly? Nothing. It's instant is the fastest you can go. This way our life will go up and down and up and down and up and down. Our defense is how much damage we do, which makes us leech very fast. So, we need our cast, our one cast, to go off. How do we make sure it goes off? By not getting stunned. Do we have evasion on gear? Not really, so evading isn't that big of a deal. We get unwavering stance. Blood magic, again, is required because we don't use mana, since we don't run auras. None of them really affect us. If you'd like to run auras, you could. You don't have to go blood magic, but you still should go blood magic. There's no reason not to. What auras you're going to run that are matter, they don't. We pick up pretty much all the AoE nodes and all the power charges in the tree. All the spell crit nodes, all the effective crit nodes. Everything is fairly obvious. Crit, lightning damage, life, 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 crit, crit, life, power charges, crit, life, power charges, crit, life, life. You are a marauder because they have lots of life. And we need to be here, here, and here, and they're right there. What else works? You could also go Scion, you could also go Templar, you could also go Witch if you wanted to, and just get spell damage. All of them are fine. We have 5.3k life. That's nice. We'd like more if possible. Our rings aren't amazing. What do we want? Well, the things we want crit, we want spell crit, we want crit multi, because we'd like to crit. Our crit chance is 61%. We'd like that to be higher. We'd like that to be 99% if possible, although 95 is the cap. What other things of gear we have? Let's talk our daggers. They have spell damage and crit and lightning leech. Ideally, we'd have 2 of these. A good substitute or a good base dagger for this is Divinaris. It gives you spell damage, which is nice. Increased crit chance for spells, which is nice. Life gain and kill, useless. Mana gain and kill, useless. Increased AoE, not useless. So 2 of these work fine, and that is a good budget dagger. Something like this may be more expensive, although having 1% lightning leech is pretty nice. Doriani's Invitation, best in slot belt. Ideally, you'd corrupt it to give you +1 endurance charge. Gloves could be whatever. Don't do Malagaros. Don't do Malagaros. Voidbringers are 100% optional, but you will destroy yourself with Scolds. Boots are boots. Get them how you like them. Vol's Devotion is required. Scold's Bridle is required. And Vol's Protector is required. Surgeons of the Heat might as well. At Zeri's Promise is pretty much, when that's rolling, you go to full life. Seething Staunching is nice. Seething Dowthing is nice. Rubies is nice. We can still block. We can't evade. We can block, though. We have one more thing, which we haven't really talked about, is the last casting damage taken, the third casting damage taken setup is level 20, and is linked to Life Leech, Discharge, increased crit damage. You could have this conk effect if you'd like. It doesn't really matter. 3 link is fine, obviously. This means every time you take 3,240 damage, which is about yay high, you will trigger a discharge, basically bringing you back to life. So this is like every other pack this triggers, pretty much. And when you're first engaging, you can Ice Spear manually. If you'd like, you can have this to be level 20. Your prerogative. It will do some damage level 20, so, you know, that's an option. Mainly just for getting crits and power charges because of the second form increased crit strike chance it has. Faster casting GMP. We don't want Echo because it makes us sit there for too long, and I don't like it. Lightning Warp, faster casting, reduced duration, the only real option for movement. Everything else is as it is. Let's do a quick map demo to demonstrate. Everything I haven't discussed, or if you've missed something, will be in the guide, the very detailed guide that I made, at least in my opinion, which is in the link below in the description area. So feel free to look through that also. This is a Sea Witches map, so I can talk without paying attention, although it is Quad Projectile Turbo Palace, whatever. Boom, explosion, explosion, explosion. You'll see little ball lightnings flying everywhere. Explosion, explosion, explosion. I walk in a room, I push one button, everything dies, pretty much. That's all there's to it. I hold down Q, everything dies. That's what the build is. You push one button, you kill everything. Boom, dead. Alright, moving on. What is the playstyle of this build? Well, there's fucking doors in this game, man. What are the things that you do not want to deal with? Well, there's the big elephant in the room with discharge builds in general. Even Valpack ones, yes, even Valpack ones. Reflect, the big R word. It's a scary thing, Reflect. Reflect is scary. Will you kill yourself on Reflect if you crit with 10 charges up? Yeah, it's possible. That's a definite possibility. That's where At Zeri's Promise comes in, mainly. If you'd like, you can run a Topaz of some fashion, and that'll make you 100% Yanka Reflect then. Yes, the endurance charge discharge is fire damage, which will not be mitigated by you using a topaz of any sort, but you should be fine. You should be fine. You're gonna pop Adzeres and pretty much leech through anything. Um, this build seems sketchy. That's because it can be at times. I don't suggest this exact variation for hardcore, although you could if you're just made of balls and you want to try it. It's pretty fucking foolproof though. You could play this without Vol's Devotion if you'd like. It's going to be a little less consistent, and that's the thing you want with this build overall, is you'd like to instill a form of consistency. That's where Warlord's Mark really is nice. Aside from just having a ton of leech it gives you extra endurance charges, which is consistent damage. You'd like that. We like to have consistent damage with this build. Lots of shit happens at once, not just at triggers, but sometimes you're dead in the water if you're not critting all at once. That's why we like consistency. We want that one charge to hit, we want it to crit, we want it to kill everything. That's the idea. Walk in a room, pow. Walk in a room, pow. That's what we want, that's what we get. Couple tricks with the build. Tricks and tricks. What do we got? Lightning Warp. Surprisingly useful. You could Lightning Warp into a pact, and if you crit, you get full charges. That is not really a trick, it's just more a mechanic of the build. It's a thing that exists. We know it exists. But it's pretty nice when it happens. The crit chance of Lightning Warp isn't super duper high. Lightning Warp's crit chance, where? Oh, there it is. Oh, go away. I think it's like 38%. So there's a chance when you Lightning Warp onto a pact that you're going to crit, in which case you gain power charges. So you could pretty much one-shot pact based off of that interaction. Map mods you can't do. You can do them all. Should you do Reflect, it is a nightmare. I don't suggest you do it. Aside from that, everything's fair game. You can do Blood Magic, no problems. Temp Chains, no problem. It doesn't matter if you're casting slow. You're a one-shot build anyway. Bosses. Single target isn't as bad as you'd think. Because of the double trigger discharge, because of the various spells going out to help you constantly have charges up, you pretty much can maintain charges fairly well. Yeah, there's times when you're just dead in the water. Does it suck? Yeah. Part of the build. That's the one drawback, really. Otherwise, you come in and just blow everything up. Is it Adzeri viable? Yeah, it is. I almost suggest you spec out of some AoE if you're going to do Adzeri, because it's a nightmare otherwise. You kill yourself half the time to Reflect on the mirror phase. Gavel. You know, this build, it's not the most expensive. It's not the cheapest. It's fun as hell. Walk around, push a button, everything dies. You're a walking nuclear bomb. You know. There's a couple drawbacks, pros and cons. If you have a computer that is a potato, this is a problem for you. This can be a problem for you, definitely. This build can easily melt your computer if it is a subpar computer. SSDs and all jazz aside, this thing will still melt your computer. Even on my computer, which is pretty fucking sweet, it has issues sometimes. Is it a bummer? Yeah, it's a bummer. But, you know, build isn't for everyone. You can play without Scolds, yes. If you're playing without Scolds, you do basically the light Gutta version, for those who know who he is, and you just use Malachi's Simula. We're gonna try Dom. Not sure how it's gonna go. It's gonna go. Oh, it's GMP. I forgot about that. Oh. Oh, we survive? Yeah, didn't think I'd survive that one. Well, I might as well kill him anyway. So, final thoughts. Let's think. I don't have to run Aura, so that's nice. It's a lot of damage. Extremely high damage build. High octane build. A lot of fun, a lot of explosions. Not good for parties. Not saying it would be. I can showcase some of the single target right now. It's not as bad as you'd think, to be honest. Because it's crit, everything's shocked, everything's burning. Which is not all that bad. You know, see, I'm pushing one button, and everything's pretty much dying. See, it's not as bad as you'd think, single target. You know, you'd think it'd be really, really shit, and it's okay, but it's not as bad. Single target, when I was first thought of this build, would be a real issue between Vols, between Warlord's Mark even. It's not that bad. Overall, this is the build. Not the best for group mapping because of the explosions. It's a lot of fun solo. Not crazy expensive, although it's not cheap in any means. Vol's Devotion and Scolds, especially a high roll Scolds, could be 20 to 30 exalted. So overall, that's the build. I hope you all are at least enticed by it to some degree. It's fun. It's a lot of fucking fun. It's almost impossible in a new league. Don't even bother trying it. This is not a build for a new league. Because of Scolds, because of Vols. You can play without either, and it's a really, really gimped version of the build. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I'm Matt Lighty. Any questions regarding the build, check the guide first, because that may answer it yourself. And it always instills that feeling of, oh, I found the answer myself. That's always good. But feel free to, of course, always message me on Twitch, message me on YouTube. Text me if you somehow found my number. Message me on Tinder, because I'm desperate at times. I'm Matt Lighty, and I'll see you guys later.